Yo, what up everyone? This time I finally have my full-on tier list video for you guys. A lot of people have been asking for it, so here it is. This video will cover everything from rifles to shotguns to snipers to medium slots to one slot secondaries, and I even have dual wielding at the very end. This video is more like a recommendation. I just want to make sure before we jump into the details that every weapon in Showdown is viable. That's what we love about this game. Even the worst gun can still win against the best weapon if you learn how to use it, if you learn how to master it. But it definitely requires a little bit more effort, a little bit more elbow grease to make it look good. Also, for all the people that will definitely just jump towards the end of the tier list segments to see where their favorite weapons land, I highly recommend you guys to check out the entire tier list if you guys really care why certain weapons land at certain positions, because I will explain it. I will explain my thought process. But yeah, let's jump to the tier list for rifles. Before we jump into it, I want to explain what is an important stat to look for when it comes to rifles. How do I rank rifles? For me, it's always a combination of different statistics, different weapon stats. Very important is the muzzle velocity, because the faster a bullet flies, the easier it is to land your shots. How much damage does a rifle deal? And what's the fire rate looking like? So, just wanted to get that out of the way before we jump into the video, or before we jump into the rifle tier list. I'm gonna start off with the 1865 carbine. The 1865 carbine lands for me, I would say, in the D tier. A lot of people won't like it, but the 1865 carbine deals a lot of damage, which is nice, don't get me wrong, but the muzzle velocity is incredibly low. At the same time, the fire rate doesn't make up for it. There will be other weapons ranked higher than the carbine, even though they deal less damage, even though they have a similar muzzle velocity, but they make up for it by shining in fire rate, which means it allows you to miss. With the 1865 carbine, if you miss your shot, which is quite likely at medium to longer distances, you might not be able to shoot at your target again, and your target runs in cover. The aperture sight for the carbine is gonna rank slightly higher, but is basically the same. It just ranks higher because I honestly prefer the aperture sight. When you flip it off and use the irons on the aperture sight. It's really nice. If you guys haven't seen it, I would give it a try. Okay. Now the 1865 carbine silencer. This one actually ranks lower than the normal carbines. Yes, it is silenced, but it also has even more downside. First of all, the biggest thing about the carbine, the high damage is less on the silenced carbine, and on top of that you have an even slower muzzle velocity. So it is probably the worst rifle in the game. Some of you guys might like it, and like I said, you can still make it work, you can still get kills with it, but it takes a lot of effort, and it feels quite painful to play, in my opinion. Next one on the tier list is the Aftermath. The Aftermath for me would be in the A tier. A lot of people would be surprised, because a lot of people would probably put it in the S tier, but in my opinion, the Aftermath is an S tier weapon in the right situation. But it's a very specific situation. That means you have to be inside a compound, you have to be within like 20-30 meters or closer. Apart from that, the Aftermath is not that useful. You cannot really reliably shoot somebody at 50-60 meters with an Aftermath. Because of that, I'm gonna put it into the A tier. Like I said, when you're like, for example, in Chapel on Stillwater, in the basement, and you have an Aftermath, it will feel like an S+++ weapon. But if you're in a fight, like for example in Port Rica, from one building to another, you're probably gonna regret bringing your Aftermath. That's why it's only an A tier weapon, even though I think it has a lot of potential in the right situations to completely wipe a lobby. The next one is the Centennial. The Centennial for me is an A+ weapon. The reason for that, why it's not an S tier weapon, is that you need really good aim to make it look good. Especially in combination with high velocity, it's an absolute head clicker, but it's not enough for the S tier. If Centennial Dum Dum was available, and not just scarce ammo, like you can find it in the match, but it's a scarce weapon, scarce ammo type, it is quite hard to come by. So it's in the A tier, but with Dum Dum, it would be an S tier weapon for me. Here we have our first S tier weapon, the Drilling. The Drilling is probably the pinnacle of versatility. It is not the best weapon when it comes to its rifle, but it's still incredibly strong, especially with high velocity bullets. You can reach a really high velocity of 655, if I remember correctly, which is an absolute laser beam. On top of that, it has a full-sized long barrel shotgun, which means you can very reliably push a building. When you play a Drilling, you will honestly never have a bad situation where you feel like, oh damn, I wish I didn't have a Drilling now, because this weapon works at any range. Close range, medium range, and even for longer range headshots. Next one in line is a Frontier 73C silencer. For me, it's gonna be a D tier weapon. It's definitely gonna rank higher than the 1865 carbines, but not significantly higher. It's a fairly low velocity weapon. The iron sights got cleaned up with the engine upgrade, but apart from that, it is still not incredibly good, and there are even better silenced variants out there. This gun is incredibly fun to play, and you can make it look good, but it definitely relies on having Iron Eye and levering. It would be at the top of D tier, maybe lower C tier. I might move it later, we will think about it. It's a solid weapon, but not very good at anything, if that makes sense. Now we have the infantry, or the infantries. I'm gonna rank them both at the same time. The infantry 73L bayonet is a solid rifle, good muzzle velocity, good ammo capacity, and it has slightly less drop than the other Ranger or Frontier variants. Quite lovely, but for me it's a C tier weapon. Honestly, I'm gonna put it in the B tier. I would put it in the B tier. It's pretty good with levering, has slightly high velocity when you put high velocity on it. Default variants doesn't for some reason, but with high velo, it actually has a little bit higher velocity, so that would make it a B tier weapon for me. Now we have the Crack. The Crack I would personally put into the A+ tier. It's a very strong gun, but it's a little bit on the expensive side of things, and it's definitely worse than other long ammo rifles in comparison, while definitely not being a budget weapon. It does have the highest fire rate out of all the long ammo rifles though, unless you consider the Mako with levering high fire rate, but it's not very accurate. I highly recommend giving the Crack a try. If you play aggressively, you like medium range fights, close range fights with long ammo rifles, the Crack is incredibly good at that. It definitely does suffer with only having 126 damage though, which means all the damage drop-off ranges start to matter much earlier than, for example, on a Lebel or a Mosin. Alright, now we have the Crack Silencer. The Crack Silencer got nerfed. It was probably one of the strongest weapons in the game when it first came out, but it got a 10% damage decrease and a velocity decrease, which in my opinion, it still is the best silenced weapon in the game, but in comparison, on the total list of rifles, I would give it a solid B. Good to be stealthy, still very strong with long ammo, good 2-taps, does the job, but I think upper B tier is a good spot for it. Now we have the next series of S tier weapons. We have the Lebel Talon, and the Lebel Aperture. I read it in the wrong order, but that's how I would rank them. The Lebel is the long ammo bolt action rifle with the fastest muzzle velocity in the game. Slightly less damage than the Mosin, but incredibly fast bullet velocity and a magazine size, or whatever you want to call it, of up to 10 bullets. Which allows you to like take out entire teams without ever having to rechamber bullets, which can be quite convenient. I would put the Lebel Aperture at the top end of the Lebels, simply because you can flip the aperture sight off by pressing the X button. It's kind of like the same button that you use on the Lemmat to swap fire modes. It's completely optional to use a little aperture peephole sight, and can be convenient to use when you, for example, want to go for a 100 meter plus shot, and apart from that you can just use it like a normal iron sight variant. The Talon is convenient for killing bosses, so you can kind of swap that out however you want. They're very much the same weapon in my opinion. And now we have the Lemmat Carbine. The Lemmat Carbine honestly is a C tier weapon, but for me it's an F tier weapon. It's not a surprise for some of my regular viewers. I personally do not really vibe with the Lemmat Carbine. The thing is, it's basically the cheap version of a drilling, but the problem is it doesn't really do anything incredibly well. The rifle is not bad, has a pretty decent muzzle velocity of 460, but it's nothing special. It's not an incredibly fast bullet. The fire rate is nothing crazy to write home about either, like on an officer carbine for example, and at the same time the shotgun, while being convenient that it's there, it's not very reliable. It is kind of like a rival shot, which is cool and can one-tap, but anybody who has played the rival knows the rival shines because you can shoot twice in a row in case your target doesn't die, but on the Lamat carbine you get one chance, that is it. And yes, you can put slugs in it, but then you lose a lot of the benefits that buckshot offers, like jumping accuracy and those kind of things. And overall, I'm not the biggest fan of slugs in general, because they have a bullet inaccuracy, which can have its own downsides when you actually get to feel the bullet deviation on slugs. That means the bullet doesn't necessarily hit where you're aiming, and it becomes more noticeable the further away a target is. Okay, now we have the Mako. The Mako for me is a B tier rifle. I personally don't really like it. I don't really think it has a purpose in the game. It's not terrible at all, don't get me wrong. You can definitely wipe a lobby with the Mako. But the problem is, out of all the other long ammo rifles, it is definitely the worst one. The biggest thing the Mako has going for it is levering. But the problem with levering on the Mako is, first of all, it's fairly inaccurate for a levering rifle, and on top of that you don't have a lot of reserve ammo to actually feed your levering, and you don't have a swift reload mechanism. That means no fast reloads. Once you're out, you have to reload for quite some time, and on top of that, after a fight with the Mako levering, you're probably out of ammo completely because it's not accurate enough to two-tap an entire team with like one magazine. You probably run through the entire reserve ammo pool. I'm later gonna restructure that a little bit, but for now it's in the B tier. Probably gonna be at the upper end of B tier. Alright, now we have the Marathon Swift. For me, Marathon Swift would be upper A plus tier. It is incredibly strong, really good muzzle velocity, and the swift reload mechanism makes it amazing. Wouldn't put it in the S tier because I feel like that is reserved for other weapons, but the Marathon really shines when you have good aim, and if you have a good day, it can definitely look like one of the best weapons in the game, but on average I would put it in the A plus tier. The Marathon, for the same reason that I just mentioned, it's the same rifle, but doesn't have the fast reload, so for me the Marathon default variant is in the A tier. Now we have the Martini Henry, the first one of the single shot rifles. For me the Martini would go in the C tier. It is not bad, it does the job, it is really satisfying to play, but if you're being honest, it doesn't have a lot going for it either. 400 muzzle velocity, reload after every shot, and even with fast fingers, the reload time is not fast enough to shoot twice at a target in case you do miss or only hit a body tap. Martini Riposte goes in the same tier. It's basically the same rifle. Now we have the Mosin, the meta rifle of Hunt Showdown. Always has been, always will be. It goes straight in the top of S tier. I don't think I have to explain much. It is the long ammo rifle with the highest damage in the entire game out of the bolt action rifles. Of course the Sparks has more damage, but out of the bolt actions it deals the most damage. And on top of that it has the stripper clip reload, which allows you to make it rain bullets and don't feel handicapped by reloading your weapon for long amounts of time. You shoot it empty, stripper clip goes in, boom, you're ready to shoot again. It's a meta weapon since forever for a reason. I don't think that will ever change, but it is definitely a top of S tier category rifle. Now on the other hand we have the Obus Match. The Obus Match goes straight into the B tier next to the Mako. Problem with Obus Match is it is a Mosin, but more like a budget Mosin. It deals less damage, it has significantly more sway, and also has less velocity. So it's basically a Mosin in bad for less hunt dollars, but there are better alternatives in that price category, which I will talk about in a little bit. The Opus Match is kinda the weapon variant nobody ever asked for. It's gonna be in the B tier. I would probably rather play a Mako than an Opus Match. It works, it's not terrible. If you get one for free, might as well play it. But for $345 you can definitely get better rifles, even in the long ammo category. Now we have the Nitro Express rifle. This is gonna be controversial, but for me the Nitro Express rifle goes into the B tier. The reason for that is that the Nitro Express rifle got heavily nerfed with the engine upgrade. First of all, we got bullet deviation, which I talked about earlier with slugs. That means even if you aim a shot perfectly compensated for bullet drop, you basically did everything you could to hit the perfect shots. The game very often, especially at further ranges, like 40 meters and above, decides, nah, that didn't go where you were aiming. That could mean you aim for the head. It's not a headshot, it's a body tap, and it doesn't kill. It could mean you miss your target completely. And considering you only have 4 reserve bullets, that is quite unfortunate. Or to better say it, it absolutely sucks to miss a shot on the Nitro due to the game simply saying, nah, you didn't hit that, buddy. On top of that, bullet drop is quite heavily affecting the Nitro. The bullet drop, like a rock dropped out of a window, basically starts dropping as soon as you shoot. At least that's what it feels like. I think it's 45 meters. It doesn't feel good to go for long range shots, and on top of that, every time you shoot it, you go deaf. So while the Nitro can look like an S tier weapon in the right situation, anybody who plays a Nitro more frequently, unless you have a devil card, it feels quite terrible to use. And even with the devil card, you still get affected by bullet deviation and by the deafening sound when you shoot. Next one on line is the Officer Carbine. Officer Carbine goes on the top of the A+ category. Officer Carbine is probably the staple of players that actually have really good aim and can combine it with good positioning and game mechanics. The Officer Carbine doesn't go into the S tier because of exactly that. It only looks good if you have the aim to play it, if you have the experience to play it. Otherwise, you will very often end up triple tapping people at a little bit further ranges, like 40-50 meters, and it doesn't look that good anymore. The biggest benefit of the Officer Carbine, or the Officer Carbine's biggest benefits, are that it doesn't require any traits. Unlike the Marathon, for example, or the Ranger, or any other Winfield variants, no traits are required on the Officer. It is as good as it comes, straight out of the box. The perfect weapon to play on a Fresh Hunter, if you feel confident in your aim skills. Now we have the Ranger. The Ranger for me goes into the... put it into the A tier next to the Marathon. They're basically the same weapon. I think the Marathon is better than the Ranger when it doesn't have levering. Like when the Ranger doesn't have levering. Both have Iron Eye, but as soon as the Ranger has levering, it is slightly better than a Marathon. Also comes down to what iron sights you prefer, but that's kinda my opinion on the rifles. The Ranger Aperture goes straight there, and now we have the Ranger Swift. The Ranger Swift is gonna skip directly into the S tier. The reason for that is that it's perfectly made for levering. And I want to say, this gun is, or this rifle is only in the S tier when you do have levering on the Ranger Swift. Because the reload mechanism allows you to spam bullets, go for wallbangs with FMJ, and all sorts of things, and don't get punished with long reloads. It's a very strong rifle in combination with traits, and it's gonna land in the S tier. Incredibly strong. Give it a try if you haven't. I have a video on my channel about levering in specific with the Ranger Swift. It is incredibly good. For anyone who doesn't know, with the engine upgrade, levering was buffed, and so did Dual-Wielding. But that's in the game for like over a year now. Ranger Talon goes straight there with the Aperture and the Ranger. Probably would put the Aperture a little bit higher than the other Ranger variants, simply because the Aperture sight, just like on the Bell, is incredibly handy to have. Now we have the Spark Silencer. For me, the Spark Silencer goes into the lower C tier. It is definitely worse than the Martini, but not much worse, and it has the benefit of having a silencer. It deals less damage though. So for me, bottom end of the C tier. Still has to get reloaded after every shot. It is not terrible, you can have fun with it, but it is definitely not better than any of the rifles above it, even if you combine it with fast fingers. The Sparks, basically just explained it, it's gonna land above the Spark silencer. If you compare the Martini and the Sparks, they're basically like the same rifle. In my opinion, the Martini is better for people who like to play aggressive and like to fight inside compounds, because he has a slightly faster reload, which is quite noticeable. While the Sparks is better at medium to long ranges due to the higher base velocity and the higher damage in general. It's the only rifle in the game that deals 149 damage, which is amazing, especially the longer a fight lasts, because every body tap you land is sucking hits out of the enemy, and once they are down bars, fighting a Sparks is an absolute nightmare. But still, same reason as the Martini, it's not gonna rank higher than that, while the Sparks is probably one of the most nostalgic weapons on hand, because it used to be a meta weapon back in the quickswap days. But it is not better than the rifles above it. It feels amazing, I love playing it myself, you will quite frequently see it on my stream, but it doesn't have much going for it. One advice I would give on the Spark though, try playing it with fire ammo, incendiary ammo, because even if you just torch a small health chunk on your enemy, you turn them into a body tap within 40 meters, which is incredibly useful. Alright, now this might upset some people, because I just talked a little bit of shit about the single shot rifles, the Sparks and the Martini. The Springfield is gonna go all the way into the... I'm gonna put it in the A tier. The reason for that is that the Springfield has dum-dum ammo available. Dum-dum ammo on the Springfield allows you to body tap opponents within like 30 meters, maybe even 35, to the chest, and they will bleed out within 5 seconds. That means they have to basically stop the bleed immediately after getting hit. That allows you to either pick up the aggression and finish them, or at the very least, takes them out of the fight for a couple of seconds while they are stopping their bleed and licking their wounds. That means they will not re-peak. Or they will just die, which quite frequently happens when you shoot people with the Springfield dum-dum and makes them bleed out. On top of that, in a 50-50 ammo split, which I like running a lot on the Springfield. I actually don't like fast fingers necessarily that much on the Springfield. I run it in a 50-50 with dum-dum and high velocity, dum-dum for close to medium range, and high velocity for longer range combat. My apologies. Next order line is the Martini. Iron Sight. For me, the Martini Iron Sight is gonna land in the F tier. Honestly, I should probably put it in this B tier, but in my opinion, it lands in the F tier due to the toaster cannon on the left, the big toaster, fridge cannon, whatever you want to call it. It takes a lot of vision away. You definitely makes this weapon look good if you dedicate a lot of time to it, but why would you? You could put fast fingers on the Martini and have basically the same weapon. I think the Iron Sight shoots a little bit faster, but on top of that, it also takes away your vision. So for me, the Martini Iron Sight is in the F tier. I don't think it should be buffed. I think it's a very niche weapon. Can be fun to use, can be fun to like have a good round with it, but the vision impairment of the big ammo box on the left is too much for me. It has to be in the lowest tier, so F tier it is. The gun stats are actually pretty good, but that's just too gameplay impairing in my opinion. Now we have the Vitality Silencer. For me, the Vitality Silencer is gonna land in the B tier. It's one of the better silenced rifles in the entire game. It got quite, I think it was recently, like 2-3 patches ago, the Vitality fire rate got buffed in combination with Iron Eye and actually has a really solid fire rate. But due to the silencer, it has a less velocity and a little bit less damage, which makes it rank in the B tier. But it's definitely one of the best silenced weapons in the game. If you want to be stealthy and have a solid pick that is also cheap at the same time, because the crack silencer is quite expensive, even though it is better, the Vitality silencer is a quite good pick. Now we have the default Vitality. The Vitality would for me actually go in the A tier, especially since the Iron Eye buffs from a couple of patches ago that I talked about, The Veterani is incredibly strong. A lot of people sleep on it, I rarely see it, but every time I do play it, I'm actually amazed how good it is. You do need Iron ISO to actually make it shine. The fire rate difference is very noticeable. Let me make it a little bit smaller, like here, so we have like a better overview. Alright, the next one is the Wildland. The Wildland is the scarce weapon that was added with the latest event. And it's gonna stay in the game, so we're gonna put it in the tier list. For me, the Wildland goes straight up in the S tier. In my opinion, it's a Ranger Swift on steroids. It is significantly better. It has medium ammo while still having, honestly, the same spread while levering. It has an incredibly high muzzle velocity, and overall it's just incredibly strong. I don't even know what to say about the Wildland. It's a Centennial, but significantly better. And especially the swift reload mechanism allows you to completely utilize the levering on the Centennial Wildland, which you cannot really utilize on the normal Centennial without feeling punished for it at times. And even if the Wildland does get nerfed in the future, maybe a little bit more levering recoil or a little bit less levering accuracy, like hipfire accuracy, maybe a little bit less damage. Also a big thing on the Wildland, it deals 126 damage. Overall just an incredibly strong weapon, especially when you put Dum Dum on that. Oh my. Also with high velocity, it is an absolute head clicker. Definitely an S tier weapon, and it's here to stay. Next one in line is the Berthier. The Berthier goes in the S tier for me. It is not as strong as the Lebel or the Mosin, but in my opinion, due to it dealing more damage than the Crack, while having 18 reserve bullets, and the option to run it 50-50, makes it a complete S tier weapon. At the same time, it's also one of the cheapest, I think it is the cheapest repeating long-arm rifle, except the Martini Iron Sight, but we don't talk about that. I would highly recommend giving the Berthier a try. As a little piece of advice, yes, you lose all your bullets when you reload, but you can kinda circumvent that by running 50-50 ammo if you want to, for example half normal, half fire, which allows you to like swap your ammo from normal to fire or fire to normal, while not losing a singular bullet. On top of that, you can this way utilize getting more ammo out of supply points. You can double loot the normal ammo boxes, and on top of that, loot the special ammo. It's overall an incredibly strong budget weapon. Definitely a bit worse than the other weapons, but in my opinion it is strong enough to put it in the S tier. Really strong weapon, highly recommend playing it. Takes some time to get used to, but for that price, it's probably the best bang for your buck long-arm rifle in the entire game. So it has to be S tier. Here we have the Centennial Trauma. I'm just gonna put it directly where the other Centennial is. You can go back to the part when I talk about the Centennial. It is really strong. I like playing the Centennial, but you definitely need good aim to make it look good. Then we have the Frontier. For me, the Frontier goes in the B tier. It's not terrible, but it is definitely worse than the Infantry, definitely worse than the Ranger. So it has less ammo, doesn't have a swift reload mechanism. It is okay, it does the job, especially with high velocity. It's a good head clicker, it is cheap, really does the job. Here we have the Veterani Bayonet, it goes straight up where the Veterani is. And now we have the Veterani Cyclone. The Cyclone is an interesting one, it's one of my favorite rifles. And it's gonna, for me, go in the A+ tier. People are gonna be surprised, people would probably put it in the S tier, but in my opinion, while the Cyclone can look like one of the best, if not the best rifle in the game, in the right hands, you need really good aim with it, and you have to have good trigger discipline with it. Because basically on the Cyclone, you don't want to fully empty it. You only want to shoot 3 times and then reload, unless you really go for the final shot. On top of that, it got some nerfs with the last patch. I don't think it made a big difference, but it still got nerfed, which contributes further that you need to have good aim to make it look good. It's an incredibly strong weapon, I can highly recommend it. I have it at the top of the A+ tier. I'm actually gonna put it at the bottom of the S tier, because I feel like it's better than all the other weapons there. But give it a try, it's honestly really good. It's one of the best bang for your buck rifles in the entire game. Lower S tier, upper A tier. But yeah, let's take a look. Let's move stuff around a little bit. Let's see. Let's start at the top. Mosen on the top, drilling there, Lebel. Honestly, would put the wildland up here. Let's put the Lebel kinda like there. Drilling, wildland, swift, riposte, cyclone. That looks about right. Sun Centennial. I would put the crack a little bit higher in the A tier, A plus tier. Just like that. The A tier looks about right in my opinion. That seems fair. Then we have the B tier with the crack silencer. I'm gonna move stuff around here. I would put the nitro at the top of the B tier because it's still a very strong weapon. Gonna move the Ober's match kinda here. That seems about right. Mako here, infantry. I think that's. I think I want to put the infantries a little bit over the crack silencer. Just for fairness reasons, I think they're slightly better. The Mud carbine better than the single shot rifle sounds about right. And the D tier. Yeah, I think the Frontier C is definitely better than the 1865 carbines. At least for my personal preference. You can always move stuff around, you know? Guns can always like move up a tier or two based on personal preference. And in the F tier, we have the Martini Iron Sight, the 1865 carbine silencer, and the Lemot carbine. That would be my rifle tier list for the end of 2025 before we go into the murder circus. Alright. Next in line, we have shotguns. Shotguns are going to be a little bit different. I'm going to include medium slots as well. We have large slots, and I'm also going to rank weapons that have a shotgun integrated into it. So you guys can kind of get a feeling how good is a shotgun in comparison to large slot or actual shotguns. Alright, we're starting off with the auto for shorty. I feel like this one is actually busted. I'm gonna put that in the A tier. Let me like zoom in a little bit. The auto for shorty is probably the strongest medium slot shotgun in the entire game. It's a little bit limited by one tap range due to being a medium slot, but apart from that, doesn't have to hide from the other large slot shotguns at all. And very often will do the same job as its bigger brother, the Auto 5, which in my opinion is a straight up S tier shotgun. It doesn't get much better than that. Next in line we have the Aftermath. The Aftermath is gonna be again in the next tier list, or in this tier list. It was in the rifle tier list, but if you put it in the category of shotguns, for me the Mosin Aftermath, when used exclusively in shotgun range, like a shotgun is an absolute S tier weapon. I would even say it's better than the Auto 5, because it does the job. And will usually one-tap your enemies when they're close to you, and you can take out an entire team in seconds. Then we have the bomb launcher. The bomb launcher for me goes into the, I would say like upper B tier. Especially with harpoon ammo, it is incredibly strong. It actually works like a crossbow. The bomb launcher can be used with bolt thrower, which increases reload speed, and on top of that offers an incredible amount of utility. Especially since frag arrows and explosive crossbow bolts were turned into scarce ammo, the bomb launcher still has wax dynamite charges, which are amazing to push buildings. And now we have the hunting bow. That's a tricky one. Where do I put it? Where do I put it? Hunting bow for me, I would put it in the S tier. In my opinion, it's a little bit overtuned. I'm not saying it's busted or doesn't take any skill to use it, but the hunting bow, ever since the engine upgrade, one taps up to 35.5 meters, basically 36 meters, and they probably bleed out when you hit them in the chest with a fully drawn bow with 100 hands. If you then consider the fire rate, it is incredibly strong. Fighting a bow is scary. It's gonna be at the lower end of S tier for me, but unless you have to push a building against a shotgun, the hunting bow is probably one of the best weapons in the game for close quarter combat. You can even take out entire teams. You probably have seen it in my YouTube or my YouTube shorts occasionally within seconds, and it feels like a medieval Auto 5 with up to 35-ish meters one-tap range if you hit accurate shots. Takes a lot of skill to use. Don't wanna like shit talk anyone who plays the bow, It needs a lot of practice, it's a very unique weapon, but once you figured out the mechanics, it is probably one of the best close quarter combat weapons in the entire game. Now we have the Shokunu. While I think the Shokunu is an incredibly fun weapon, I also think it is terrible. The Shokunu goes straight into the D tier, because it one-taps up to 10 meters to the chest, has to be fired only in hipfire accuracy with not the biggest accuracy in hipfire mode. Will very often 2-tap players because he hits the arm. It is fun to use, but it's not very good. The next S-tier weapon in the shotgun close quarter combat category is the crossbow. The crossbow for me is incredibly slept on, especially in combination with steel bolts. Steel bolts got buffed a couple of patches ago and are just as good as normal bolts but fly faster. You're slightly less reserve, but you can pick up your arrows, so it doesn't really matter. And the crossbow one-taps up to 36 meters. That deals like at 36 meters 148 damage, and then the target bleeds out before they can do anything. Super strong, highly slept on. Run bolt thrower with it because it actually drastically increases reload speed, but apart from that, this weapon is slept on. I'm kinda scared of telling you guys about it, but this weapon is basically a nitro, but better. Less one-tap range, but basically infinite ammo, and you can actually aim with it. And it doesn't have bullet deviation. Next on the line, the drilling hatchet. Don't forget, we are ranking the shotgun in the drilling hatchet. It's like a medium-sized rifle, but you can only shoot once. It's not terrible, it does the job, but in comparison to other shotguns, I would put it in the C tier. It one taps up to like 8, if you're lucky, 10 meters, if you're really lucky. It's not terrible, it does the job, it's a versatility sidearm, but I wanted to put it in the shotgun list. Same for the drilling shorty. The shotgun works the same on both of them. Now we have the drilling. Again, we are rating the shotgun on the drilling. I would give it a solid A tier. It is a large slot shotgun. It has a good one-tap range, and in comparison to the other shotguns, it has a really good shotgun one-tap range. We're not gonna rate to use it only as a shotgun, since you have also the rifle mode, but sure, exclusively in one-tap range. The drilling performs really good and it feels incredibly reliable. Now we have the haymaker. The haymaker is also in the C tier for me, because it also functions like a sort of rifle. It does the job close range, can put slugs on it, but it does the job. Next one, we have another scarce weapon from the latest event, the Homestead 78. It's basically a double barrel, but in a long barrel format. For anyone who doesn't know that, when it comes to shotguns, we have large barrel shotguns and we have medium length full-size shotguns. Large barreled shotguns usually one tap up to like 13-14 meters, while medium length shotguns only one tap up to like 10 to 12, depending on the RNG. The Homestead is incredibly strong. It can even one tap quite easily up to 20 meters if you get good RNG. 2-tap. I'm not sure if I said 1-tap. You can easily 2-tap up to 20 meters. Sometimes even further if the RNG is in your favor. Incredibly strong rifle, incredibly strong shotgun. Can highly recommend playing it. If you can get your hands on it, make sure you do, bring it out of the match. If you love playing shotguns, you will love the Homestead. Now we have the Lemad Carbine shotgun. That one is gonna go in the C tier. It's slightly better than a drilling or a haymaker shotgun, but in my opinion, from personal experience, the carbine shotgun, the Lemad Carbine shotgun, feels very unreliable. Not sure why, it feels even worse sometimes for me than the small Lemad pistol shotgun. Maybe because I expect too much out of the carbine, but they basically feel the same. The Lemad Carbine shotgun doesn't feel better than the normal Lemad. Here comes the Nitro Express rifle. The Nitro Express rifle, as a shotgun, that means we're gonna use it within like 10 to 20 meters, is for me an A tier weapon. It does the job. It's a little bit tricky to aim with the aperture sight, but if you get your hands on a Devil card, which decreases or increases, makes you more accurate in hipfire mode, it's a very solid weapon. And if you compare to the other shotguns, it is quite strong. Could even argue to put it in the S tier, but I'm gonna put it in A+, because the aperture sight is a little bit tricky to use, and we don't always have a devil card available. Next one in line is the Rival 78. Rival 78 is really strong, but it's only a medium length, large sized shotgun, which means a little bit less one-tap range, but being able to shoot twice allows you to take down your targets and secure the kill in case your first shot doesn't kill. In my opinion, it's a big thing with shotguns in general. What do you do when your initial shot doesn't kill? Every shotgun looks amazing when you one-tap them, but in my opinion the most important stat on a shotgun is not the one-tap range, but what can you do with that weapon, with your shotgun, when the first shot doesn't kill, because you're very close to your target. And if your shot doesn't kill, your enemy gets to shoot back, and if they also have a shotgun, that can end quite deadly for yourself, because they definitely get to shoot back. On the Rival, on the other hand, you can just shoot a second time and maybe even take them down before they react. Now we have the Rival Mace and the Rival Shorty. I would put both of them in the B tier. There's a medium-sized variant of a Rival. I would not put them in the A tier, but on the medium slots, honestly the Shorty shotgun performs quite well in the Rival family. The Rival Trauma goes for me in the A+ tier. It's the same as the Rival. Probably would rank it slightly higher than the default Rival, because it has a trauma attachment which is quite useful to kill bosses or AI in general. Now we're gonna do something that will upset people. Here comes the Romero. For me the Romero will land in the D tier. The Romero, in my opinion, while having the longest one-tap range up to like 14 meters, very reliable, 13-14 meters, it suffers from what I just talked about. You can only shoot once and then you have to reload, which could be the end of you. The Romero feels amazing, and I play it a lot myself, and I have cool rounds with it, and it feels very rewarding to play. But if you're up close to somebody and your Romero shot doesn't kill for whatever reason, aimed poorly, maybe obstructed by texture and you don't deal the full damage, whatever it is, if you don't kill, you're in trouble. That's why the Romero lands in the D tier, even though it has technically the furthest one-tap range. But I don't think, like I said already, one-tap range is the most important stat on a shotgun. Unless we talk about things like the crossbow, because the one-tap range is so far that you're not in danger. Then we have the Alamo. The Alamo for me goes in the C tier. It's basically the Romero, but reloads actually noticeably faster, and has the same one-tap range as the default Romero. A lot of people don't like playing it, but I can highly recommend revisiting it. It is pretty good, quite solid. Not as good as other full-size shotguns, but the Alamo is definitely slept on and should be played more. Now we have the Shorty. The Shorty Romero, in comparison to one-tap ranges, I would put it in the B tier, definitely above the Mace. I think out of all the, surprise surprise, the Romero, out of all the medium slot shotguns, has the furthest one-tap range. But I would say a B tier is fair, definitely worse than a drilling Shorty. Still suffers from the same consequences as a Romero, especially in the context of being like more of a secondary to run with your primary. It's a solid secondary shotgun to have in your pocket. Not as good as the Auto 4 Shorty, but I think the Romero medium-sized shotguns are actually incredibly slept on, and more people should run them as a secondary, especially in budget loadouts. The Romero Talon lands in the D tier as well. I know it's upsetting, but I just explained why the Romero ranks so low. Here's the Slate. For me the Slate goes in the A tier. Slate is a medium-sized shotgun, medium-sized, full-size, medium-length, full-size shotgun. That means a little bit less one-tap range. Has good fire rate, same as the Spectre actually, but less one-tap range. Next in line, the Spectre. The Spectre is incredibly cheap. It's a big upside to the Slate. I think the Spectre is half the price of the Slate. I think the Slate is roughly 330, 340, somewhere in that ballpark. It has a less one-tap range than the Spectre, and the Spectre is only like 180-ish, I want to say. and actually has the full-sized, full-length shotgun one-tap range of 13 to 14 meters, which makes it significantly better than the Slate. I would highly recommend playing the Spectre. Spectre Shorty, one-tap range-wise, actually feels really good. I want to put it in the top of B tier and even can be played quite reliably as a medium-sized shotgun by itself. Very strong, highly recommended, give it a try. We're gonna talk more about secondaries in a little bit, but definitely give the Spectre Shorty a try. Now we have the Terminus Shorty. Terminus Shorty with levering in one-tap range is actually not that reliable, I must say. I would put it at the bottom of B tier. It feels more reliable than the Drilling Hatchet or the Shorties, but the Terminus Shorty one-tap range is not that convincing. Don't forget, medium-sized shotguns I rank more for like their one-tap range. We're gonna talk about their strengths as a secondary in a little bit. Now we have the full-sized Terminus. We're gonna rank that twice. The Terminus is gonna go in the D tier and it's gonna go in the S tier. That sounds very confusing, but Terminus with levering is probably one of the strongest shotguns in the entire game, while the Terminus without levering should honestly be not equipped. It should not be played. It is not good unless you combine it with traits, but once you put levering on it, it is basically like an auto 5, but can shoot even more often. You get locked in animation, some people don't like it, but it's definitely one of the strongest shotguns in the game. But don't play it, like I said, without levering. Now the bomb lance. The bomb lance used as a shotgun is actually quite good. You can use harpoon ammo or you can use steel bolts. Steel bolts, actually. It's not bolts, steel bolts. I would put it in the A tier. Actually, quite good, in my opinion, because you can also slice people. Not... let's put it in the B tier. I think that's more fair. Put it in the B tier. Because if I look at the other shotguns or one-tap ranges in the A tier, I don't think that seems right. Bomb lance is quite strong. With steel bolts, kind of like a Romero one-tap range, I want to say, and the harpoon is also quite strong. And on top of that, can be used to deal with bosses, can be run in 50-50 ammo for utility with waxed charges or normal bomb lance ammo to kill meatheads, bosses, whatever. Quite underrated, not the most strong weapon in the game, but I feel like the bomb lance, my apologies, is something a lot of people do sleep on. Now we have the crossbow Deadeye. Dedicated a video to it very recently. It's an absolute S tier weapon. I want to say it's even better than the default crossbow for all the same reasons. But the Deadeye scope, even though I usually don't like them, makes the crossbow much better because it actually clears up your vision quite a bit. On the default crossbow, the crossbow charging mechanism, or the bow on the crossbow, you guys know what I mean, can block your vision quite a bit. The Deadeye scope actually cleans up your vision and kinda stops the crossbow from blocking an enemy you might miss while aiming. Slate Repost, also A tier, just like the default Slate. I don't think I have to explain that. And the Spectre Bayonet goes in the A tier as well, because a lot of people don't know that, but the sort of part of the Spectre Bayonet actually makes it a medium-length full-size shotgun, and it actually feels worse than a Slate in my opinion. Not terrible, does the job, it's still an A tier shotgun, but it's gonna rank in the A tier. Alright, final look at the shotgun tier list. I think that is about right. Let's move stuff around a little bit for like more impactful rating. I would do it like that probably. Put the bow at the bottom of the S tier. I would maybe even put it in the... Maybe I'm probably gonna put the bow down in the A+ tier. I think that sounds about right. It's more fair. Really strong, but I was just saying like, it's not as strong as the other weapons in the S+ category, because I feel like in comparison to the bow and the crossbow allows you to push aggressively because you don't have to charge it, while the hunting bow can be limited in movement when trying to push a building, especially in fight against other close range loadouts like shotguns, or for example bow versus a crossbow. Apart from that, I feel like that sounds about right. Okay, Next, we're gonna talk about snipers, marksman scopes, anything sniper related. Before we jump into that, I want to say there will be some personal bias in here. I personally do not like deadeye scopes. I think they're not very useful for actual sniping. On top of that, when it comes to sniper rifles, for me the most important stats are muzzle velocity, drop range, and then damage. I think damage is not that important, because in my opinion, when you go for body taps, you're kind of playing snipers wrong. It doesn't mean I never go for body taps, it doesn't mean you should never go for body taps, but I think we can all agree that hitting a headshot is kind of the goal when you play sniper. It doesn't always happen, but it is the goal, and the faster muzzle velocity definitely makes it easier to hit the headshot, hit where you want to hit your target, makes it easier, or makes it that you have to compensate it less. For your target moving, you have to lead your shots significantly less, which makes sniping much more easy in my opinion. Alright, let's start off with the sniper tier list. First one is instantly gonna be an S tier sniper. It's a Centennial sniper. In my opinion, it's the best budget sniper in the game, especially in combination with high velocity bullets. Very high muzzle velocity, not a lot of bullet drop range. Deals okay damage that within medium range you can double tap people when needed. On top of that, can be used with levering when you push in to finish off your final target, or when you have to fight inside a compound. Levering can be a lifesaver on the Centennial sniper. Next in line is the Berthier marksman. Berthier marksman in my opinion is an S tier sniper. The reason for that is, out of all the sniper rifles, it's the only one that maintains the stripper clip reload, which can be very nice. On top of that, it has 18 reserve bullets, can be run in a 50-50 ammo splits, for example with Spitzer and normal ammo, which actually allows you to have the very fast flying Spitzer bullets for long range shots, and then you could run normal ammo for pushing up close and actually benefit from the high damage body taps, if you would like to. Overall, incredibly strong weapon, good fire rate. I highly recommend running the Berthier marksman. Here we come to my personal bias. The Berthier Deadeye is going to be in the C tier, and it's definitely exclusively because of the Deadeye scope. I just don't like it. I used to love the Deadeye scopes in the old engine upgrade, but with the 1896 update, Deadeye scopes got less zoom. It used to be more of a 2x scope, now it's like a 1.5, 1.25x scope. It just doesn't feel that useful for sniping anymore. It feels more like a medieval 1800s rotoscope than anything else. Now we have the Frontier marksman. In my opinion, that one is pretty slept on. I'm gonna put the Frontier marksman in the B tier. Good muzzle velocity, decent drop range, and overall does the job. It's a good budget marksman rifle. Nothing too crazy, definitely needs help with traits like scopesmanship and steady aim, but I think we all run that on almost every sniper rifle except the single shots. It's a solid weapon, but nothing too crazy. Now we have the infantry sniper. In my opinion, it's an A+ sniper rifle. Doesn't have the fastest velocity, but due to it being compact, for anyone who doesn't know that, when it comes to sniper rifles, long ammo has the highest drop, like it starts dropping most, then medium ammo, then compact ammo, which means compact ammo, especially high velocity compact, doesn't have a lot of bullet drop range. Infantry might not have the fastest velocity, but it also doesn't have a lot of drop, which makes it in my opinion a good A+ weapon, and just like the Centennial sniper, it is really good with levering, but since it doesn't reach the velocities of a Centennial sniper or Berthier marksman, it's gonna be an A+ sniper rifle. Alright, next is the Crack Sniper. The Crack Sniper for me, I'm gonna put it in the A+ tier. I should probably move it around. We're gonna go like that, that feels better. After considering it, infantry goes in the A tier and the Crack Sniper in the A+ tier. Crack Sniper is pretty solid, deals good damage, sadly doesn't have access to Spitzer ammo, which definitely is a downside, but it's a solid sniper rifle and is the sniper rifle with the highest fire rate in the long ammo category, which is actually, I want to say, the only sniper rifle that can actually make body taps look quite viable. Even though, like I said, it is not the go-to when playing snipers, but the crack sniper definitely shines with fire rate and allows you to miss a shot or two, while still being able to kill your target, or an entire trio, if you hit accurate shots. Here we come to the Lebel Marksman. The Lebel Marksman is probably one of the best, if not the best, marksman rifle in the game. Has access to Spitzer, fastest muzzle velocity in the entire game, and is an absolute laser beam. Suffers a little bit from bullet drop range due to it being long ammo, but as long as you play within like 140 meters, the Lebel Marksman with Spitzer is an absolute monster. Now we have the Springfield Marksman. The Springfield Marksman is probably the best budget marksman rifle in the game. On top of that, first of all, it's gonna go on the A tier, but on top of that, the benefit of the Springfield Marksman is you can run it 50-50 ammo. First of all, you can put high velocity ammo in it, which pushes the velocity in long ammo territory, which is amazing for long range sniping. It has a fast reload, so you never feel like really punished for missing that much, especially while rotating. And you can also run it 50-50 with Dum Dum. And if you combine that with the accurate hipfire accuracy on the Springfield Marksman, that allows you to go for the long range snipes, get 1 or 2 headshots with the high velocity ammo, and then push up and use the Springfield Dum Dum kind of like a versatility shotgun almost, because the hipfire accuracy is actually that good. Even without a devil card, it is probably one of, if not if the most accurate hipfire rifle in the entire game. Super strong, very much slept on, probably one of the best budget sniper rifles in the entire game. Especially when you put some high velocity and Dum Dum or special ammo in general on it. Now we have the Maynard Sniper Silencer. This weapon is gonna land in the upper A tier. I wanted to put it in the A plus tier, but I'm gonna put it in the A tier. The benefit is definitely the stealthiness of the silencer, which is quite annoying to play against. I feel like this rifle was a mistake, just to make that clear, but it's in the game now, and it's quite strong. Especially with high velocity ammo, it still has like I think 570 velocity, 576, something like that. And it makes it quite the menace to deal with. Probably the ultimate solo sniper, stealth sniper rifle in the game. Next in line is the Maynard Sniper. I'm gonna put that one in the A tier, because with high velocity ammo, it actually goes quite high. It goes into like something in between long ammo and Spitzer territory. And in my opinion, it is better than all the other single shot sniper rifles, because like I said, the most important stat is the velocity, because it makes it easier to hit long range sniper headshots, because you don't have to compensate that much for your bullet velocity. Also, if you do find it, and you find Dum Dum as scarce ammo, the Maynard Sniper is actually incredibly strong with it. Hard to come by. If Dum Dum ammo was always available and not scarce ammo, I would put it even in the S tier, and the Maynard Silencer Sniper in the A plus tier. Because with the 146 damage and the Dum Dum ammo, it basically makes your target bleed out, I think, in 2 seconds after being hit, which is incredibly strong. So if you find Dum Dum ammo while running the Maynard Sniper, definitely take a stack with you. You only run 50-50 then anyways, and you can still run half high velo, half Dum Dum. On a side note, do not run fast fingers on the Maynard. It doesn't really do much on it, and you will not be able to reload fast enough to actually shoot your target again before it gets in cover, unless it's out in the open, but that doesn't really happen. Not a lot of value on fast fingers on sniper rifles in general, I want to say. Now we have the Mosin Obrist Sharp Eye, basically a dead eye. I'm gonna put it in the D tier. It has a lot of sway, you can play it. I played it when it came out, made a video on it, got some good rounds with it, but it is definitely a terrible sniper rifle. It doesn't really have anything going for it. Lots of sway, dead-eye scope, not a lot of velocity. Just overall, not a good sniper rifle. On the other hand, the Mosin Nagant Sniper. I'm actually gonna upset some people with that, but I'm gonna put it in the A plus tier. It is not bad, in my opinion, but might be personal preference. But I'm not the biggest fan of the Mosin Sniper, I'll be honest. Maybe we put it at the bottom of the S tier later, but it doesn't have the stripper clip reload, like the Berthier Marksman, for example. Probably one of the better sniper variants, but it does have the Spitzer velocity of 800 something velocity, which is very nice for long range sniping. But I feel like in comparison, I would rather have a Centennial sniper than a Mosin sniper, to be completely honest, when it comes to just sniping. And if you compare the price, I feel like the Centennial sniper is actually the significantly better sniper rifle. Now we have the Officer Carbine Deadeye. Officer Carbine Deadeye is actually gonna go in the B tier. For like a Deadeye rifle, it's actually quite solid because it has the incredibly fast fire rate. Apart from that, it's still a Deadeye scope. It's not gonna rank any higher because it's actually quite hard to do sniping with it due to the Deadeye scope, which in my opinion is quite inaccurate at longer ranges. But out of all the Deadeye scope or Sharp Eye or whatever you want to call them variants, it's probably the best one, at least in my personal opinion. Now we have the Spark Sniper. Well, I personally love this sniper rifle. I have to say, the Spark Sniper goes in the B tier. It is not very good when you compare it with other sniper rifles. It's a solid pick, it feels amazing, probably one of the most satisfying feelings in the entire game, to hit a Spark Sniper long range headshot. But due to it not having access to Spitzer or high velocity ammo, and not having anything significantly going for it when it comes to special ammo, it can't rank higher than a Maynard Silencer Sniper, a Maynard Sniper, or even a Springfield Marksman, because all of those rifles have a faster bullet velocity, and while the Spark Sniper does have the 149 damage, which is really nice and convenient, it very often doesn't matter. Unless you want to play incredibly aggressive, like I do with the Spark Sniper, the damage doesn't matter. If you do so, I can highly recommend running fire ammo, because it allows you to put your target on fire and then body tap them. But apart from that, Spark Sniper B tier, even though it's one of my personal favorites. Now we have the Springfield Bullseye. Not a big fan, goes in the D tier, like I said already. It does its job, but in the context of sniping, I think the Bullseye scopes, Deadeye scopes, Sharp Eye scopes are just not that good for sniping. Makes it quite hard to hit long range shots, which, at least for me, is what sniping is about. The Bullseye is gonna rank differently when we talk about medium slot secondaries in a little bit, but in a context of sniping, the Bullseye is a D tier weapon. I would not play it. Now the Uppercut Deadeye, same thing. I actually gonna open another category, one sec, add a low below, because that doesn't seem fair to the Sharp Eye and the Springfield. Gonna add an F tier, and that's where the Uppercut Deadeye goes. For actual sniping, it's not that good. It's very gimmicky. As a secondary, kinda fun to use, but strength-wise, it is absolutely terrible. Simply due to the bullet drop range of 65 meters. The Uppercut used to be really strong. I will talk about it in a little bit when it comes to single slot secondaries, but the Uppercut used to be the sniper rifle of the pistol category, but ever since the engine upgrade, it really isn't anymore. 65 meter drop range basically makes it impossible to hit long range headshots. You can hit some cool highlight clips with it, but on a day by day basis, match by match basis, the Uppercut Deadeye is absolutely terrible. Now we have the Vitelli Marksman. The Vitelli Marksman would for me be a C tier, upper C tier marksman rifle. The Vitelli kinda got gutted when it comes to high velocity with the engine upgrade. Before the engine upgrade, high velocity ammo was 600 velocity, and it was actually a very solid pick. With the engine upgrade, we are down to 500 meters per second, which simply is not that good in a sniping context. The normal Vitelli I really enjoy, the Vitelli Marksman when it comes to sniping purposes. Not the best pick, not the worst pick. solid C tier. Upper C tier. Alright, now we have the Vandal Bullseye. Yeah, Vandal Bullseye. It's okay, you can run it with high velocity ammo. Definitely needs steady aim because it has a lot of sway to it. I would put it in the lower C tier when it comes to sniper context. I think it's more useful than a Springfield Bullseye, and I would definitely prefer it over a Mosin Orbis Sharp Eye due to the bullet drop with high velocity. But honestly, it's gonna go in the D tier. I don't think it's F tier like the Uppercut Deadeye, but I feel like it has to be below the more Orbis Sharp Eye because Sharp Eye is stats-wise the better weapon. Even though I'm really not a big fan of the Orbis Sharp Eye. Now we have the Centennial Pointman, and I think out of all the medium slots, that is actually the best medium slot sniper rifle. I will put it in the B tier because it suffers from having a lot of sway, but in a context of sniping, for medium slots, that's probably as good as it gets. Especially with high velocity, the Pointman, which is a marksman scope, is quite good and heavily slept on. You can, for example, run this one with a drilling, and then you have your close and medium range easily covered, and then run a Centennial Pointman for more ammo for your drilling, for example with high velocity, for sneaky long range sniping. Just an idea. Now we have the Lemad Carbine Marksman. Funnily enough, I don't think the Marksman variant is that bad. Because it does have the sniper variant to it, and I would definitely put it above all the weapons in the C, D, and F category currently. It's not my favorite, but 460 velocity is not terrible. Not the best, but it's not terrible. And you do have a shotgun, which makes it interesting for pushing. Not the most reliable shotguns like I talked about in my rifle section, but it does the job. Alright. Now we have the Martini Deadeye. Martini Deadeye. I'm gonna put it in the D tier. I think the Deadeye scope of the Martini can be used, but I think the Martini as a sniper rifle suffers heavily from the lack of muzzle velocity. Yes, you can put high velo on it, but even with high velo it's only 500 velocity, and it just doesn't feel that good to play. I'm gonna put it at the upper end of the D tier, but Deadeye scopes, you know, it's personal preference. If you guys enjoy the Deadeye scopes, you guys play really well with the Deadeye scopes, give it a try, but I just don't think Deadeye scopes are really made for sniping. Now we have the Martini Henry Marksman. Well, I personally love the Martini, and I play it in the Iron Sight and the Repost version quite frequently, because I think it's a very satisfying weapon. The Martini Marksman goes in the F tier. The reason for that is that the Marksman scope, in combination with the low velocity of 400, maybe 500 with high velocity, makes it incredibly hard to lead shots. I want to say, especially without high velocity, at longer ranges, like actually sniping distance, 100 meters plus, you sometimes have to lead outside of your marksman scope sight. Like, the target runs across your screen, and you have to kinda like lead with the outside of your marksman scope. The velocity is just too slow for sniping. The Deadeye scope is okay because you can still use it inside a compound with the scope, so it's definitely better than the Marksman, but the Martini Marksman is probably the worst sniper rifle. I don't think it gets worse than that. We have the Vitelli Deadeye, but the Vitelli Deadeye, I just personally don't really like it. Gonna be in the bottom end of D tier. The Deadeye scope suffers from the same problems that the Vitelli Marksman has. But at least the Vitelli Marksman can shoot more often, unlike the Martini. Even though with high velocity it's the same muzzle velocity. But Martini Marksman, Vitelli Deadeye. D tier was the Deadeye and the Martini Marksman. I just thought about the Vitelli, but it's higher than the Martini Marksman, and you leave it at that. That will be my tier list. Let's see, for the sniper rifles, let's see if I can move something around here. We have the crack sniper. May not. I would probably rank it like that. Puts the marksman over the infantry, but the sniper silencer over the marksman. Crack sniper, Maynard sniper, Centennial at the top. I would probably put... Probably like that would be my list for the S tier. The marksman is probably the best marksman rifle, and Centennial sniper probably the best sniper rifle. For some people the Mosin sniper will be better than the Centennial, but for me, out of personal preference, Centennial sniper is the best sniper scope rifle in the game. Apart from that, I'm quite happy where the snipers are positioned. I think that's a fair ranking. Alright, next in line we have secondaries. Specifically single slot secondaries. Here we will go a little bit crazy because I also gonna include utility, because when it comes to secondaries, sometimes you just want a utility weapon. So for example, we're gonna rank the melee weapons as well, and things like the hand crossy for their utility purposes as well. So this list is gonna go quite crazy, I want to say. Alright, starting off with the saber. Saber, actually out of all the melee weapons, has the longest range. When it stabs you, it actually has quite the range. For a melee weapon, I'm gonna put that in the... I want to say B tier. For a melee weapon, it's actually quite solid. Quite solid pick. Then we have the combat axe. Combat axe does the job. Would give it a C tier. Good for killing bosses, but nothing too crazy. The baseball bat, on the other hand, really strong. Especially when pushing buildings, it gets charged up quite quick. You can run inside the building, do quite a lot of damage. I would put it in the B tier with the saber. Quite solid. And I think it's a fan favorite. Now we have the Bornheim. The default Bornheim. For me, the default Bornheim would go... I would put it in the A tier. Wouldn't make it any higher because it struggles from having low damage. Doesn't 2-tap. No matter what you do, you have to hit headshots. But if you have the aim to support a Bornheim playstyle, it's a very solid secondary. Same for the Bornheim Extended for the same reasons. The only difference is the Bornheim number 3 has the little, it's not a super creep reload, but the little reload mechanism that allows you to reload all bullets at the same time. While the Extended has to be manually reloaded, one bullet at a time, but has a higher ammo pool to begin with. Next in line is the Bornheim Silencer. For me, the Bornheim Silencer goes in the D tier. I really don't like that pistol. Can't really put it, I think it's the Iron Sights. For Silencer, put it in the C tier to be fair. But I personally prefer the gun Silencer over the Bornheim Silencer. Bornheim Silencer for some reason has a lot of sway to it, which makes it quite hard to use. Might be personal skill issue, but I think the Bornheim Silencer is quite overrated. I think I'm also gonna add like another row below here. We're gonna add a F tier. I feel like that might be needed. Alright. Next in line is the Chain Pistol. Like I said, we're gonna go for utility. Chain Pistol looks like it's made for fanning, but I think in overall context, the Chain Pistol is like a C tier. It's actually the worst fanning pistol in the game. It looks like it's made for fanning, but due to a low hipfire accuracy on the Chain Pistol, makes it quite bad for dual-wielding and for fanning equally. Wouldn't recommend it, it's still a solid pistol, especially if you don't lose fanning, you basically never have to reload. Quite convenient, not a terrible pistol, but the default variant, the conversion pistol, in my opinion, is an A+ pistol. Because it has everything the Chain Pistol doesn't, except the high magazine capacity. The conversion pistol shines with a good reserve ammo pool, is the best pistol for fanning in my opinion. Super fast, very accurate, absolute sleeper pick. Sadly is compact ammo, but conversion pistol, the absolute budget secondary to run. Especially in combination with fanning, it is probably one of the strongest secondaries to run in the entire game. Now we have the Dolch Bullseye, the Han Solo Blaster. It is not terrible, but I don't love it either. I'm gonna put it in the B tier. Like the Deadeye scope is actually quite hard to use, and due to bullet drop you don't really get to use the scope at the range that you would like to. It is not bad, you can make it work. I would put it more in the meme category of still meta weapons, but I feel like the Deadeye scope, Bullseye scope on the Dolch is more hindering than anything else. On the other hand, the D4 Dolch goes straight up in the S tier. Also, to add to the Dolch Bullseye, it doesn't have the stripper clip reload. I don't know why, because it looks like it should work, but it doesn't, so you have to reload one bullet at a time, which is quite annoying. But yeah, the D4 Dolch, stripper clip, 10 bullet, reload, 10 reserve bullets, so once you're out, you just reload all 10 bullets and go again. It is quite pricey, but it's a meta pistol to run with a rifle for a reason. It is that strong. Dolch Claw, same pistol, in my opinion, has a little claw attachment, but it doesn't really make much of a difference. Absolute S tier secondary. Very pricey, but very pricey for a reason. Hand crossbow. Now we come to utility. In my opinion, a lot of people will be confused about that. But the hand crossbow, for me, is an A tier secondary in the right circumstance. For example, a hand crossbow with a Cyclone, hand crossbow with a Marathon or a Ranger Swift is an absolutely great secondary. Run some normal ammo, which actually has a quite far one-tap range, run firebolts to put people on fire, free up the burn 2 slot instead of running a flare or a fuse. You can just run Hellfire Crossy, you can run poison to block entrances, cover bodies, you can run choke bolts. The hand crossy basically offers so much utility and is still quite lethal, and like I said, if combined with a rifle that doesn't really need a secondary to make up for its weakness, the hand crossbow is actually quite useful. Definitely would put it in the A tier, it's highly slept on in my opinion. Now we have the Katana. What puts the Katana? I have like a boss killer thing here, but consider that more like a B+. Katana is amazing as a secondary, probably the strongest melee weapon in the game, due to the Tierlist perk, which allows you to like instantly kill an enemy by having a fully charged melee weapon when you swap to it, which allows for some crazy plays, and at the same time it's incredibly good at killing bosses. Like I said, same for the hand crossbow or any melee weapon. You kind of want to combine it with a weapon that doesn't need a secondary, drilling, Marathon Swift, Ranger Swift, Viterni, Cyclone, those kind of weapons, but the Katana can really shine in the right moments. It's still a melee weapon, you know, even though it looks really high. Don't compare like a Katana to a chain pistol, for example. Now we have the Limot pistol. The Limot pistol for me is incredibly slept on. In my opinion, it's an A+ pistol. It has like 371, I think, velocity, which is almost as fast as an uppercut, just to put it out there. Almost as fast as a Ranger without high velocity. Almost as fast as a Martini. It's actually a very fast bullet for secondary and has a shotgun integrated into it, which makes it a great all-around utility, versatility secondary. You can push a building, for example, officer carbine, the Limot pistol carries ammo for your carbine and has a pistol to push a building with. Incredible pistol, and I don't see it often enough, if I have to say. Now we have the machete. The machete goes in the F tier. I don't really know why it exists. I feel like the machete should be a heavy knife skin. It feels like a heavy knife. I know it's slightly better stats wise, but it's just so bad. Even in the context of melee weapons, it is really, really bad. Doesn't have a Martyrlist perk or anything like that. Only swings sideways. It's just not good. The machete should just be a heavy knife skin. And then, even then, people wouldn't play it because it's a heavy knife. Now we have the default Nagant pistol. The default Nagant pistol is probably the most basic pistol in the game. It's not terrible, With fanning it has pretty good fire rate, but apart from that, it is dirt cheap for a reason. It's in the D tier. It's not good, it's not terrible. You can kill something with it, like with every gun, like I said earlier. But in a gun pistol, it's just not a solid pick. Now we have the new army. For me, the new army goes in the A tier. The new army shines with fire rate and very consistent 2-taps. But has a downside of a very slow muzzle velocity. Because of that, it lands in the A tier. Solid secondary, especially with FMJ. Really good if you run, for example, Springfield Dum Dum, New Army FMJ, makes them bleed, and then spam bullets with the New Army. It doesn't have a lot of recoil, and has really fast fire rate. Pretty solid pick. And now we have the Officer Brawler. I think the Officer Brawler, I'm gonna rank them together, and the Officer go in the S tier. I think it's one of the best secondary one-slot pistols in the entire game. I know a lot of people do run it, but I think people don't run it enough for how good it is. It's basically a Dolch for barely anything. Like, it's so cheap, you can probably buy 6 officers for 1 Dolch, and the majority of fights, it does the job just as good as a Dolch. The Officer is that good. Basically a compact ammo Dolch. Good 2-taps, good velocity, good iron sights, doesn't have the stripper clip reload, but apart from that, incredibly solid. And the Brawler variant, for utility reasons, it's really good if you, for example, want to run a spear, or you want to free up a 2 slot. The Brawler deals with AI perfectly. Now we have the Pax Claw. Pax Claw, good question. I would put the packs in general in the B tier. I'm gonna put them both together. I don't think there's a big difference between the Pax Claw and the default packs. They're basically the same pistol. It's kind of like a medium ammo conversion pistol. You can put high velocity on it, which ups the velocity to like uppercut levels. But due to the lower reserve ammo pool, it's not very good with fanning. It's not a terrible pistol. B tier is not bad. Middle of the pack. Solid pick, you can make it work. But I think there are better pistols out there. Packs, B tier. Now we have the Railroad Hammer. The Railroad Hammer goes in the boss killer tier. Katana is there as well, even though I said Katana is the best melee weapon. The Railroad Hammer is actually crazy strong. It deals like 500 damage with a heavy swing, which allows you to completely obliterate bosses, especially once you have Berserker. Boy, let me tell you, if you like run to Roger the Butcher or any other boss, you can actually like one combo them if you don't mind losing a little bit of HP. It's actually crazy how good the Railroad Hammer is at killing bosses. At the same time, it's not terrible to use in PvP, but simply for utility, the Railroad Hammer goes in the boss killer tier. I think the Saber or the Baseball Bat are better for PvP scenarios, but the Railroad Hammer, simply because it gets 500 damage, is amazing for killing bosses. Run up to Hellborn with the Railroad Hammer, stamina shot running, or like conduit stamina, 4-shot boon. You're gonna make Railroad Hammer look like an absolute war crime to be used. And Hellborn is probably gonna go on Reddit and complain about it after. Alright, we have the Scotfield Brawler. Yeah, that pistol exists. I'm gonna put it in the F tier. The Scotfield Brawler looks like a Spitfire, but it's not. While suffering from less hipfire accuracy. It has a Brawler attachment, but apart from that, it's a Scotfield, the default Scotfield, but worse. I just don't recommend running it. If it was a Spitfire, I would probably put it in the A tier, but simply because it's a Scotfield, just worse, with a Brawler attached to it. There's just better options out there, and it's so disappointing. If I'm being fair, I would probably put it in the C tier, but because it's so disappointing and it looks like a Spitfire but isn't, I put it in the F tier. Alright, now we have the Scotfield Swift. Scotfield Swift, it's actually incredibly strong when combined with fanning. I'm gonna put it in the A tier. Probably one of the best pistols to run with fanning if you don't want to run a conversion pistol and you want to ammo stack with medium ammo. It allows you to like fan your entire pistol, and then the swift reload mechanism allows you to instantly reload, and you can do it again. You can apply so much pressure with a Scottfield Swift, especially with FMJ. I would highly give it a try if you are a fan of running fanning and you usually run the conversion on the Lamut, for example. Give the Scottfield Swift a try, you might like it. Now we have the Nagant Silencer. Nagant Silencer I'm gonna put at the bottom of the B tier. Definitely a little bit of personal preference because I actually, for some reason, like playing it as a PvP weapon, but on top of that it has the utility of being able to take out AI stealthy, silently, if you want to. Solid pick, not the best weapon damage-wise, not the best weapon velocity-wise, but as a utility secondary, still deadly, especially with high velocity. On top of that, really good at taking out AI when you have to, without making too much noise. Solid pick. Now we have the new Army Swift. The Army Swift, the reload mechanism is nice, but due to the new Army being a spammy pistol, can sometimes also feel punishing. I think it's better than the default new Army, but not by much, so they're gonna both land in the A tier. It feels really nice, kinda like the Scottfield Swift, to spam and instant reload, especially with FMJ. But sometimes on the Swift, you wanna reload because you shot 4 times with the new Army to kill a target because of the low muzzle velocity, and then you feel like you shouldn't because you're gonna lose the other 2 bullets. So it's like 2 sides to the coin kind of thing, but definitely better than the default new Army because the Swift reload mechanism can really carry a fight. Now we have the default Scottfield. The default Scottfield is actually quite solid. I would put it at the lower end of the B tier, worse than the packs, but not by much. Has access to high velocity as well. Pretty good with fanning. Not terrible. Solid B tier. Now we have the Sparks Silencer Pistol. Spark Silencer Pistol is a good ammo carrier, but apart from that, I'm gonna put it in the B tier. It's just not good, it's not bad. Honestly, probably top of C tier. I would rather run the normal Sparks pistol if I want the high damage, because silenced long ammo weapons have the damage decrease of 10%. So yeah, it's okay. Cool for an ammo carrier, can take out AI, stealthy, but has to be reloaded after every shot. So if you want to run that with your Crack, your Mosin, your Dual, as an ammo carrier, it's solid. But for example, the normal Sparks pistol is a better secondary to run, in my opinion, especially in loadouts that have compact or medium ammo, like for example a Marathon Swift, a Ranger Swift, as your primary weapon, and then paired with a Sparks pistol for the redowning capabilities with 125 plus damage, is a good combo. It's not the best pistol in the game, I wouldn't rank it any higher, but upper B tier as a secondary for utility on spammy loadouts for redown purposes, because having the possibility, the capability to redown somebody you killed from a long range with a body tap can be quite nice. Very convenient. Now we have the Spitfire. For me, the Spitfire is an A tier weapon. That could be an A plus for some people it might even be an S tier. But this is gonna come down a little bit to personal preference, because I don't like the block iron sights on the Scottfields in general. I'm gonna rank it above the Swift, but the Spitfire has kind of like this square as an iron sight, fully out of metal, and it can quite often block your vision. Simply because of that, it's gonna be an A tier pistol for me. It is basically a medium ammo officer, but the iron sights, for me personally, make it an A tier pistol and not an S tier. If it had the officer irons, I would, or the new Army iron sights, or the conversion iron sights, I would put it in the S tier without thinking about it. But due to the irons, for me, it's gonna be an A tier. Very solid, good fire rate, can highly recommend it. You can even fan it. Not the best, but you can if you want to. But yeah. Ooh, now we come to the 2 last ones. Now I'm gonna do something controversial. Gonna go to the uppercut. Gonna create an extra tier for it. One sec. gonna be a row below, and we're gonna have an A- tier. That's the uppercut goes for me. The reason for that is quite simple. I love the uppercut. It's probably one of my favorite secondaries to run in the entire game. It's one of the most nostalgic weapons in the game. It has that amazing aim punch when you shoot it. But the uppercut got basically butchered with the engine upgrade. Before the engine upgrade, the uppercut used to be the staple in a lot of loadouts, especially shotgun loadouts, because the uppercut was good at long range headshots with its 115 meter headshot range. We used to have a headshot range before the engine upgrade, now every headshot kills. And suffered from like long reloads. On top of that, it dealt 126 damage, which was quite convenient to redown enemies you have downed already, and could be used like a pocket long ammo rifle. With the engine upgrade, they nerfed the damage below the 125 threshold, which means you can no longer easily body tap people after you have downed them, unless they are losing 50 HP or they are more down than one tiny bar. But apart from that, redowning is quite hard. On top of that, they added a very harsh bullet drop of 65 meters to the uppercut, which is on the lower end of the pistol category, which means it has a very early starting point at which you have to compensate for bullet drop, which means what the uppercut used to be good at, long range sniping for a pistol, is no longer viable, because while you can hit long range headshots, you have to actually get quite lucky, because you not only have to compensate for muzzle velocity, which is quite nice, the 410, but also compensate quite heavily for bullet drop, which makes long range uppercut headshots a cool highlight, but not a very frequent thing to happen. It's A-. I still think it's better than most pistols in the B tier. Could make the case that the Dolch Bullseye should maybe be A- as well. Honestly, I'm gonna put it there. But yeah, the uppercut is not that good anymore. I love playing it, it feels amazing, you can make it look good, but apart from that, the uppercut is just not that good anymore. Simply isn't. Because it got replaced by the true shot. The true shot is everything that the uppercut used to be, except the 126 damage. It has a very high velocity, not a lot of bullet drop range, and is basically the sniper rifle of the pistol category, especially in combination with high velocity. It is an absolute pocket sniper. On top of that, if you put FMJ on it, a lot of people don't know that, it goes from 410 muzzle velocity to only 405. Basically doesn't lose any velocity at all, but gains the ability to have long ammo penetration levels. So if you're looking for a cool pocket sniper that feels like an uppercut, give the true shot a try, play it with FMJ, play it with high velocity, play it with normal ammo. It is really good with fanning. It is just an incredibly solid secondary. But yeah, that is my secondary 1-slot list. I already moved it around. I'm quite happy with the positioning of pistols. Dolch is the absolute S tier. A+ for conversion in the mud. Yeah. Very nice, very nice. And yeah, like I said, Katana probably the best melee weapon for PvP purposes, and Railroad Hammer the best melee weapon for PvE purposes. But yeah. Alright, now we get to medium slots. Medium slots as a secondary. We're gonna see the shotguns again. Alright, let me get some water in. Lots of yapping, but here we go. We're gonna start off with the auto for shorty. In my opinion, this is an absolute S tier secondary. It's probably one of the meta secondaries in the medium slot category, aka you combine a large slot with Quartermaster as your secondary. And the auto for shorty probably makes every rifle a meta. From the old meta before the engine upgrade, which was like Mosin Dolch P, it has very often become now Mosin auto for shorty. Very common, incredibly strong. I would say in some cases even stronger than some large slot shotguns, like you saw on my shotgun tier list. Really strong. Then we have the bomb launcher. The bomb launcher is a good utility weapon while still being incredibly strong in combination with bolt thrower and harpoon ammo or steel bolts. And you can use it for utility purposes for killing bosses, or you bring waxed dynamite charges or waxed frag charges to siege boss layers. I would give it a solid 80 actually. I think it is actually that good. Bomb launcher is highly slept on. You want to combine it in a loadout with like a weapon that works by itself, like a ranger, drilling, cyclone, marathon swift, those kind of weapons. You probably don't want to run it with like a sparks, just as a comparison. But in a weapon that works by itself, the bomb launcher is a great secondary for utility reasons. Now we have a staple. It's the Bornheim Match. Staple on my channel, that is. Probably the strongest secondary, or one of the strongest secondaries to run if you have good aim. Bornheim Match doesn't have a lot of recoil, has a 5-bullet instant reload like the small Bornheim variant, and on top of that the Bornheim Match actually can 2-tap. The Bornheim Match deals more damage per shot than the small Bornheim variants. A lot of people do not know that, but up to like 20 meters, Bornheim Match can 2-tap. Incredibly strong, give it a try. I quite often run a Bornheim Match in combination with like a medium slot shotgun. For example, this right here, Bornheim Match, Auto 4 Shorty, S-tier loadout. Absolute brawler, bruiser, in compound fight, loadout to dominate your opponents. And on top of that, Bornheim Match has a bullet drop range of like 95 meters. It is basically a large slot rifle, hidden as a medium slot. Super strong. Don't think it needs a nerf, because like I said, you can only make it look good if you have good aim, but I'm gonna put it in the S tier. Hunting bow. Hunting bow goes in the S tier as well. I still think, like I said, in the shotguns, the hunting bow is a little bit overtuned. I think the bow got a little bit too much damage. 35.5 meter one-tap range is too much. I feel like it didn't make up for the issues that the bow had. I would much rather have the bow go back in one-tap range, back to how it used to be, like with 100 hands 28, without 100 hands I think 24 meters, instead of like without 100 hands 28, with 100 hands 35.5. And then rather see like an increase in movement speed while the bow is fully drawn. Because I feel like that's the biggest issue the bow has, is movement speed limitations when the bow is drawn. Not one-tap range. I think it's an S-tier secondary, also offers great utility, especially when you have like some concertina arrows or you find frag charges, frag bows, frag arrows in the match. Great weapon, S-tier secondary, really strong. You still need to like learn how to use the bow. It's a very unique weapon. It's not a weapon you equip and instantly know how to use. It requires a lot of experience with the bow, but once you figured out the drop on the bow, you learn how to use it. It is that strong. Now we have the Centennial Pointman. As a secondary, I would give it a solid 80. It's a good pocket sniper rifle. Nothing special, not too strong. A lot of sway to it, but if you want a long range sniper rifle by running like a shotgun or an iron sight rifle, the Pointman is actually a very solid pick. For example, you could combine the bow with the Pointman and suddenly you have like kinda a loadout for all ranges. Centennial Shorty goes in the BT for me, same as the Centennial Shorty silencer. They're nothing special, they're not too good either. It's a solid rifle, solid medium slot, good ammo carrier, does the job, but they have a lot of sway, and I'm honestly not a big fan of the little bit more chunky iron sights because everything is a little bit closer to you, unlike on the normal Centennial. Now we have the Shokunu. And again, I think we're gonna add another, tier below, because I feel like putting it in the D tier just doesn't put justice to it. I feel like the Shokunu just isn't that strong. Shokunu suffers from one-tap range, it's only one-taps up to like 10 meters. On top of that, it has to be a chest shot. You have to shoot with it only in hipfire. Can't ADS with it. Has fire rate to make up for it, but it's just not that good. You can use it for utility with explosive bolts, but even that it's not that good. I think it's like an F tier secondary. It's fun to use. I used it for a video or two. It feels incredibly rewarding when you make it work. And like I said, every weapon in that game works, but the Shukunu is down there. It doesn't feel very strong. It's fun to use, but not incredibly strong. On a side note though, you can use Bolt Thrower on the Shukunu for whatever reason, and it actually increases your reload speed. Alright, now we have the meta secondary in the medium slot category, the Dual-Wielding Precision. Absolutely overtuned, absolutely busted. Has a heavy price tag on it, but the Dual-Wielding Precision is probably the best rifle secondary in the entire game. Because it has fast fire rate, stripper clip reload, deals a lot of damage, good 2-tap range. You can find FMJ for it, for even better 2-taps and warbangs. Probably the best secondary to run when you play a bolt action rifle, for example. That's why the combination is always Mosin Dolch. Mosin for medium to long range, high damage shots, good accuracy, good muzzle velocity, and when you get closer, the Dual-Wielding Precision with a low recoil due to the precision variant is a perfect finisher pistol. Shoot him with the Mosin for 130, try to hit one of your 10 Dual-Wielding shots on your enemy somehow after that, and you get a kill. Absolutely broken. Don't know how to balance it without making it terrible. It's just how it is. I think the Dual-Wielding Precision is gonna be a meta weapon forever. Now we have the Drilling Shorty and the Drilling Hatchet. This is gonna be controversial, but unlike the big drilling, I think the drilling shorties are actually quite terrible. First of all, the velocity falls off quite a lot. Even with high velocity, the velocity is nothing to write home about. And the shotguns are very unreliable. On top of that, the iron sights, I just don't like them. They're like too zoomed in. On the big drilling, they're like far enough away that it doesn't bother me, but on the small shorty variants, the iron sights are a little bit closer to your face, which makes it incredibly chunky and makes it hard to hit shots at a distance. I'm not a big fan of that weapon. For some people, the drilling shorties are their favorite secondary to run in medium slot loadouts or as a quartermaster secondary, but I absolutely hate them. Wouldn't put them in the F tier because I can see that they're good, but I'm definitely gonna put them in the C tier. Now we have the Haymaker. The Haymaker goes for me in the A tier. A plus tier, actually. It's not as good as like a one-eye match or a Dual-Wielding Precision, but it has a secondary shotgun that can be used to push buildings. Has a good muzzle velocity of above 500, which allows it to actually make it easy to hit shots. And overall, it's just a very solid revolver to run in any kind of loadout. You can run it in a shotgun loadout, you can run it in a rifle loadout. The Haymaker works. It's nothing OP, I think it's very well balanced. And on a side note, it is really good to run two Haymakers together because the swap speed for some reason is incredibly fast. You can kinda fast swap around. Oh, we have like the Haymaker here twice. Interesting. Next, the Mosin Orbis. Mosin Orbis for me goes in the A tier. It's a solid secondary, especially when you run it in a shotgun loadout, large slot shotgun, quartermaster Mosin Orbis. Kinda gives you the medium to long range, especially when you run in a team. Both your teammates run rifles, you wanna run a shotgun, get quartermaster, put an Orbis on. Suddenly, when your teammates with rifles get in long range fights, you have an Orbis and can actually participate. Then we have the Nagant P Deadeye. Yeah, that thing exists. Let's leave it at that. I'm gonna put it in the F tier. It's a meme weapon, you can make it work, especially with high velocity, you can make it work. I'm just not a big fan of it. You can use fanning on it. Let's put it in the D tier. You can have medium slot fanning on it, which makes it somewhat viable, but I'm just not a big fan of the Nagant P Deadeye. Then we have the Rival Mace and the Rival Shorty. I'm gonna put them together. I actually really like those as a secondary, and I'm gonna put them in the A tier. They're actually quite solid. Good one-tap range, but also if you don't one-tap, you can immediately follow up with a second shot. They're basically like an auto-force shorty, but you can shoot it twice instead of 4 times. Very solid pick, can highly recommend it. Play it quite frequently myself. Rival maze, one-time match. Cool budget, loadout. Kind of feels like 2 large slot weapons, but they're both medium slot. Alright, next one, the Romero Shorties and the Romero Shorty Hatchet. They're okay. I don't hate them. I would put them in the upper B tier. They're not terrible, but you know they suffer from the issue that they are a one-shot weapon. They have to be reloaded after every shot, but in a budget loadout, like play Ranger Swift, Romero Hatchet, it's a solid pick. It does the job, has a good one-tap range. As long as you rely on it as a pocket shotgun when you push a building, it does the job just fine. Squad Feed Precision. I'm actually gonna put that in the upper B tier. Kinda controversial, but I kinda like it. I don't know why, but the 0 sway on the precision makes the squad field feel pretty good, especially high velocity. I have a video out on it on my YouTube if you wanna look for it, but it's actually a solid secondary. It's not crazy good. It is cheap though. High velocity on it, and you have like a little pocket sniper. I like it a lot. Give it a try, see you like it. Some people probably will not like it. Solid B tier. Good secondary, nothing too crazy. But I personally kinda like it. Like I always say, you know, it could be a C tier, but I think not lower than that. Based on personal preference, everything can move up and down a tier quite easily. Spectre Compact. Spectre Compact is probably one of the better medium slot shotguns. Really strong. Highly recommend giving it a try. It's kinda like the less tryhard version of a Auto 4, but has really good one-tap range. Give it a try. I like it a lot. I run it quite frequently. Again with a Bornheim match. I run everything with a Bornheim match, but really good loadout. Bornheim match, Spectre Shorty, Bornheim match, Auto 4 Shorty. Depending what your budget fits. Really solid loadout. Springfield Striker. Yeah. That one goes in the F tier. And I don't think the medium slot Springfields are actually bad, but I think the Striker attachment is terrible. It's absolutely terrible, and because of that I put it in the F tier. You should not play the Striker variant. It doesn't even one-tap a hunter when you stab him. In a lot of cases. I think when you stab them in the face, it kills, but apart from that it doesn't even one-tap. It just doesn't feel good. Like you shoot them with the Striker, miss, try to stab them, doesn't kill, and then you die. Don't get fooled by the Striker attachment. It is actually terrible. Alright, now we have the Terminus Shorty. Terminus Shorty with levering goes in the S tier. That's something you will only know about though if, you know, you actually watch the video. Because I feel like the Terminus Shorty with levering is an absolute S tier. But without it, I'm gonna put it in the D tier. Just as a little shout out, if anyone who doesn't know. S tier with Terminus levering, Terminus Shorty levering, absolute S tier secondary, kinda like an Auto 4. But for all the people that just skip to the end of the tier list to like just check where I put everything, we're gonna put that in the D tier because without levering, it is absolutely terrible. Alright, Uppercut Deadeye. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the D tier. I think it doesn't deserve to be in the F tier, but it is not good either. It does the job. If you want to play a Deadeye scope, go for it. It's kind of like the Nagant P. Not as good with fanning, but deals more damage due to it being long ammo, has a little bit more reserve ammo as the Uppercut Precision variants have more reserve ammo available to them. But they're not crazy. Because of the Deadeye scope, you don't really get to use a scope like a sniper. It's more hindering, looks cool, but if you really vibe with the Deadeye scope, give it a try, maybe you like it. On the other hand though, the Uppercut Precision I actually really like. It's not as good as the Haymaker, but it has like basically 0 sway. It's an absolute laser beam. I really enjoy playing it. It feels much better than the normal Uppercut. I don't know why, I can't really put it, but every time I play it I hit the most insane headshots. Might be personal preference, but the Uppercut Precision is actually an absolute sleeper pick. It's expensive, 100%. But if you love the Uppercut, you used to love the Uppercut, give the Precision variant a try. It still suffers from the long reloads, it still suffers from the early bullet drop, but within a compound, the uppercut precision feels absolutely amazing for headshots. I think the zero sway really gives that uppercut precision an edge over most other variants. Alright. Vandal Bullseye. Oh, damn, I forgot some Obus variants. Wonder why. Unlucky. Vandal Bullseye. That one goes in the F tier. I don't like it. Same for the Striker. They're just not that good. Let's put the Vandal in the D tier. Striker for the same reasons as the Springfield. F tier. Don't play the Striker attachment. Don't get fooled by it. It's gonna disappoint you and you're gonna feel like a clown when you try to melee somebody with it. It's really bad. Bullseye, just I think the gun Deadeye. This one has a lot of sway to it, unlike the Nagant PD Deadeye, but Vandal Bullseye just not that good. Cool ammo carrier, but apart from that, not a big fan of the Deadeye scopes. Normal Vandal, I'm gonna put in the C tier, has a lot of sway to it. Apart from that, it's okay. B tier, it's not terrible, you can use it, but the sway really kills it for me to not rank any higher. Then we have the Springfield Bullseye. I actually really like that one. I think that one is an upper A tier. Upper A tier secondary. Out of all the Deadeye scopes, I actually like that one because you can put Dum Dum on it, you can run it in a 50-50 split, and it's actually quite strong. It's actually really strong. High velocity Dum Dum, as an example, it's a strong secondary if you just want to like stack up ammo. Drilling, Springfield Bullseye does the job quite well. Then we have the normal Springfield. I would put it in the A tier as well. For the same reasons. It's solid, does the job, it's cheap, good ammo carrier, you can run still 50-50 on it. For example, you run the Cyclone, then you have Cyclone High Velocity, then you equip as a secondary the Springfield Bullseye, also Springfield Shorty, run it half in high velo to have more ammo for your Cyclone, and then put 50-50 Dum Dum on it, so then you have Dum Dum ammo for pushing. Even though Springfield Dum Dum ammo on the medium slot Springy is a little bit less aggressive, it still does the job quite well. Then we have the Nagant P, the Nagant Precision. I'm gonna put that in the B tier. Even though I don't think it's the best weapon, I think it's really solid with fanning. Yeah, good ammo carrier, put some fanning on it, quite fun to use. I sadly forgot the Mosin Obris Extended and the Mosin Obris Brawler. The Brawler goes into the A tier, just like the Obris, as it's Mace. Obris Mace is not a Brawler. The Mosin Obris Mace goes into the A tier, just like the normal Obris, and the Extended would go for me in the S tier. Because it's actually that good. 10 shots and then 15 shots, and then 10 reserve bullets. It's a hell of a lot of long ammo. The Mosin Obris Extended goes in the S tier. Normal Mosin Obris A tier, same as the Mace variant, and the Extended S tier. Sadly forgot the picture. But yeah, that was it with the medium slot secondaries. And then we're gonna end the video on Dual-Wielding, because people asked me about it, and I didn't want to include it in the secondaries, because Dual-Wielding are kinda its own thing. For anyone who doesn't know that, Dual-Wielding is actually quite good. I wouldn't rely on it. It's not very accurate, but it's more accurate than most people think, and Dual-Wielding got buffed with the engine upgrade. I have a video on it, give it a try, you will be surprised. Alright, when it comes to Dual-Wielding, let's go into the list. Bornheims. I think Bornheim is actually not bad. If you go for pure Dual-Wielding spam, I would put the Dual-Wielding Bornheims in the A tier. Quite solid, fairly accurate, really good fire rate, really good to spam people down. Same for the Bornheim Extended. Actually, for just spamming people down, doesn't two-tap, but if you just want to spam, the fire rate really dominates. Because it makes it more likely. Go for quantity on Dual-Wielding, it makes a big difference. Next we have the Conversion Chain Pistols. I actually don't think conversions, chain pistols are that good for dual wielding because they suffer from the lack of hipfire accuracy. Just like chain pistols are not that good for fanning, they're also not that good for dual wielding. Conversions are significantly better than default conversions. Not bad, you can shoot a lot, you can also go over quantity if you just want to go for ridiculous wallbang spam. But I would give them a solid B tier. Not terrible, but not the best. The conversions, on the other hand, are absolute S tier for dual wielding, because just like on fanning, they're the best fanning pistol because they have very low hipfire spread. On dual wielding, they are like laser beams. Not as accurate as a true shot, but if you want to spam bullets while being fairly accurate, the conversions are absolutely overpowered. Next in line, we have the Dolches. I'm gonna put them all in the A tier. They're quite expensive, but they are much better than people think when it comes to dual wielding. Pretty solid, nothing crazy. I would rather run the conversions because $55 versus $700. Yeah, just run a conversion, but if you want to spend money at the end of a prestige, want to have some fun, dual wielding Dolches are actually quite fun. And they have a cool reload. If you equip ambidextrous, you can actually stripper clip reload both of them at the same time. Quite fun. Next one in the S tier is the Le Mat. Le Mat dual wielding is actually really strong. Not as accurate with hipfire, but the two shotguns are so broken. The shotgun mode dual wielding on the Le Mats feels like a double barrel shotgun. You basically have dual wielding RNG in combination with a double barrel shotgun. I highly recommend the double Le Mats, for example, run them, I have a video on it, with a Bornheim match. Then you run the dual wielding Le Mats only in shotgun mode and use them as ammo carriers for your Bornheim match. You can use them as ammo carriers for your Officer Carbine, your Marathon Swift, your Ranger Swift. Then you basically have like a big ammo pool plus a double barrel shotgun. Super strong, and even by itself, the Mat pistols and dual wielding, if you want to go full dual wielding, go conversion, double Le Mats for ammo carrier, the double shotguns on the Le Mats are absolutely broken. Really, really strong. Then we have the default gun pistols. I'm gonna put them in the D tier. Nothing crazy, normal dual wielding pistol, it works. Let's put them in C tier, D tier. It doesn't really matter. They're nothing crazy, they work. Not the highest fire rate, but they do the job just fine. Then we have the New Army. New Army goes into the A tier for me. They shine with 2-tap potential and fire rate. Not the highest velocity, but New Armies go crazy in dual wielding. The fire rate is absolutely insane. Put some FMJ on it, and your enemy is gonna actually double take how many bullets are flying at them. Officer Brawler. I think the officers are not that good for dual wielding. A little bit too expensive. Not that good. Solid B tier. Nothing crazy. They shine with fire rate, but they're less solid in 2-tapping. And the fire rate and the recoil. Solid B tier. Nothing terrible. Let's put the chain pistol one lower because it doesn't feel right to put the chain pistol in the same tier as the brawlers when it comes to dual wielding. Then we have the packs. Packs I'm gonna put in the A tier. The hipfire accuracy wise kinda like the conversions but slightly worse. So they go in the A tier. Scottfield Swift. Same as the Scottfields, I'm gonna put them in the C tier altogether. Nothing crazy, not too good. Use them if you like. They're cheap, maybe get them from some free hunters. But yeah, apart from that, nothing too crazy. Spark Silencer pistol as dual wielding. Kinda accurate. I'm actually gonna put them in B tier, both of them. Kinda like that, I would say. Spark Silencer definitely at the end of B tier. But Spark's pistol are actually surprisingly accurate. Not super accurate, you're not gonna 100% hit where you're aiming, but quite often you will easily hit the target at like 50-60 meters. And considering the sparks are still sparks, it does a lot of damage. Quite fun to use, very RNG dependent, but if you want to have some fun, play some Sparks pistols, dual wielding, and see what happens. Spitfire, absolute D tier. They have terrible hipfire accuracy. Spitfire for dual wielding, absolutely terrible. Don't run it, just don't. True Shot on the other hand, while slightly lower fire rate than the conversions, they are significantly more accurate than the conversions. The True Shots are actually the sniper rifles in the dual wielding category. Conversions for quantity, like make it rain bullets while still being fairly accurate, more accurate than any pistol below. But the True Shots, while having slower fire rate, are significantly more accurate. If you really go for it, you will quite often hit headshots at like 50-60 meters with a True Shot in dual wielding mode. They're actually that broken. Uppercut dual wielding is not that good. They're gonna go in the C tier. Very expensive, very inaccurate. Feels cool when you hit a shot, but cannot recommend it. The gun silences, same as in the guns, go in the D tier. Wanna deal with AI? I don't think anybody needs that. Just go normal in the gun, silencer pistol. Don't get more ammo when you stack dual wielding anyways. Not that strong. Really isn't. New Army Swifts, gonna go in the A tier, just where the new army is. I think they're basically identical. Give them a try. Fire rate is really insane on the new armies. And last but not least, the Bornham silencers, while not being the strongest, they're actually quite accurate, but they suffer from low damage. They will quite often triple, maybe even 4-tap people with the Bornham silencers, but they're quite accurate. So give it a try. But yeah, that's it with the dual wielding tier list. Definitely the best ones, I would say, conversions and True Shot, then the Limit. And then apart from that, the list looks about right. That was it with the tier list video. I know it's a long one, a lot of yapping, incredible amount of yapping actually, but yeah, like I said earlier at the beginning of the video, even if your favorite weapon landed in the lower end of the tier lists, doesn't mean you can't play it. The player makes a gun. If you put a lot of hours into something like the gun pistol, you can still beat a Dolch as an example, because all that matters in Hunt Showdown is hit a headshot and you win. Hit an accurate shot, you win. It doesn't matter what gun your opponent has. If you hit one precise headshot, one good shot, you land one shotgun one tap before they do, you win. The Romero will win against the Auto 5, then the gun can win against the Mosin Sniper. Are the odds in your favor? Probably not, but it doesn't mean you cannot win. But yeah, that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you guys think about it. I wanted to put everything in one video this time, unlike the other time. You guys can skip around. And yeah, have a good one. Bye bye.